Bienvenidos. Welcome back to the channel, y'all. By the way, I thought it would be kind of fun to throw a few old pictures back when I was young and skinny. And as you can tell, these pictures are old, all discolored and everything. But I thought, I don't know, I thought it'd be, would be fun. Yeah, why not? All right, let me just say from the beginning that this is going to be one of those videos where there are going to be a certain amount of people that are going to get very, very, very triggered. So if you're one of those people that gets triggered really easily, you might want to just not watch this one. Wait for the next one. All right, just giving you fair warning. All right, so there's going to be a lot of people also who are probably going to be asking, just why are you making this video? Well, first off, this is stemming off my last video and adding a little bit more insight into what we're seeing from Kiely's family. I don't really have any purpose other than just entertainment value. Some people might find this interesting, and it also might be just one more clue to help us piece things together. Now, I actually wasn't planning on doing any follow-up on the one I did yesterday, but this morning I was laying in bed and there was a statement that Lindsay made in this one news clip I saw previously that popped into my head, so I just decided to do a little bit more research. And I found the information that I gathered interesting, so just thought I'd share it. So that's my only motive. Hopefully you find it interesting as well. Now, I want to begin with an excerpt from the Las Vegas Sun newspaper. Now, I saw the video probably a week ago or so where Lindsay made this statement, and I wish I'd saved it because I can't find it now for the life of me. I spent probably about an hour and a half trying to go back through videos that I'd watched, and it was a news interview. It was one that was on TV, I believe, if I remember right. And man, I couldn't find it to save my life. But I did, however, find the statement quoted in some newspapers. And so this one here is one that I screenshotted from the Las Vegas Sun on the September 29th edition. And it says, Rodni's family thanked the searchers for their help in a statement Monday that said they would be grieving privately. All right, keep that in mind because we're gonna see that pop up again later. And she says, while we accept this sadness cast under death's shadow, the rising sun shines light upon us, reminding us not to mourn our loss, but to celebrate Kiely's spirit and the gift that we all received in knowing her. The Rodni Neiman family wrote in the statement, Kiely will surely remain with us even though we will not get her back. All right, so as we look at this celebration of life where she made this statement, I want us to notice the three elements that we're seeing in the celebration of life, or at least that I'm seeing. I'm sure that you're all seeing it too, but I'm kind of, cementing it down and putting it into points. But there are three main elements that I see in the celebration of life that I think are pertinent to our discussion. And the three elements are cremation, no mourning or lack of mourning. We won't mourn our loss, all right? And then the celebration. Okay, now in my last video, we looked at the concept of Scientology, as it's been stated by locals who know the family and the other players involved, that they all attend the Church of Scientology. Now, there's some who think all this is just a wild goose chase, and that's fine. If you want to think that, you're welcome to it. That's fine. You don't have to go down this road. But we have to admit that this whole incident and investigation have been really, really weird. I think all of us would agree on that. All right? There have been so many comments since the beginning, just thousands and thousands of comments about all of the weird things going on here and the strange vibe many of us have gotten from this community. So, of course, being a former investigator, I can't help but dive in head first and look for any clues that might help explain the things we're seeing. I just can't help it. Now, my point is, to help us better understand what's going on in these videos we're watching concerning the celebration of life event, we need to look at this concept of death from the Scientologist point of view. Okay, so y'all grab your shovels because we're going to start digging a little deep here. Now, in order to fully understand their perception of death, we need to look at the concept that's at the root of their beliefs called the Thetan. And that's T-H-E-M. That's not Satan with a lisp, it's Thetan. All right, so what is the Thetan? In Scientology, the concept of the Thetan is similar to the concept of self or the spirit or soul as found in several belief systems. The term is derived from the Greek letter theta, which in Scientology beliefs represents the source of life or life itself. In Scientology, it is believed that it is the Thetan, not the central nervous system, which commands the body through communication points. Sorry about that. My phone's just been going non-stop. I put the sucker on silent, so interrupt me anymore. Now I got to figure out where I was. Okay, communication points. All right, so Thetans have been described in the applied religious philosophy of Scientology in a number of ways. It says, a Thetan is an immortal spirit being, the human soul. The being who is the individual who handles and lives in the body. A Thetan is not a thing. A Thetan is the creator of things. A Thetan is the person himself, not his body or his name, the physical universe, his mind, or anything else. That which is aware of being aware. You're aware of being aware. Okay. The identity which is the individual. Although the term is comparable to a soul, a Thetan can be incarnated many times over lifetimes. An important goal in Scientology is to develop a greater awareness and higher levels of ability to operate in the physical universe as an operating Thetan. It says the term and concept were defined by Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard, who adopted the Greek letter theta to represent the source of life and life itself. As an essential point of Scientology doctrine, a person's sense of identity and self-awareness stem directly from the Thetan. Hubbard once defined a Thetan as having no mass, no wavelength, no energy, no measurable qualities, and no time or location in space except by consideration or postulate. The spirit is not a thing, it is the creator of things. Now, one thing you always find with the cult is that they try to either bring God down to man's level or elevate man up to God's level. Just like in the cult that I ended up leaving years ago. One of their tenets was, as God is, man once was. As God is, man may become. In other words, God was once a man who later attained godhood. Okay, now here is the standard by which to judge any church or religious organization as to whether they are conveying the truth or not. Any church or organization that views God as anything other than the eternal being who has always been God, or that says that man can somehow climb up to God's level, is both unbiblical and a false church, aka a cult. I don't care what organization or church it is. Any organization or church that does either of those things, run away as fast as you can. All right, let's go forward here. According to Hubbard's son, his father stated that Thetans are immortal and perpetual, having willed themselves into existence at some point several trillion years ago. After they originated, Thetans generated points to view or dimension points, causing space to come into existence. In other words, that's how the universe was created. They agreed that other Thetans dimension points existed, thus bringing into existence the entire universe. Whew. All right, I guess my question is, if you don't exist, how can you will anything? I willed to come into existence. That implies a pre-existence. It doesn't imply something coming out of nothingness. It's kind of like the Big Bang Theory. How did something come out of nothing? Nothing existed, and all of a sudden nothing exploded, and it created something. If you don't exist, how can you have a will? Also, will implies a mind. You know, it's like, and it just cracks me up when I hear people talk about the universe told me, or the universe did this, or the universe made a decision, the universe manipulated circumstances. Well, that implies that the universe has a mind. And if the universe made a decision, that implies that the universe has a will. If it has a mind and a will, that implies an actual being. I mean, you're not going to ask your pet rock to speak or make a decision. You're not going to go out in the driveway if you got a gravel driveway and pick up a rock and go, what should I do with my life? Where should I go eat tonight? Now, you may be able to do that with a magic 8-ball, but not a rock. But hey, you know, here's the thing, and here's what it all boils down to, and deep down, I don't care who is listening to this or watching this, deep down, you know this is the truth. That it's easier to believe in the universe rather than God, because with believing in the universe, there's no accountability. At least in the present, but the game ain't over yet. Yeah, you believe in the universe, you don't have any, there's no moral qualifications, there's no accountability, there's nothing. But if you acknowledge there's a God, you also have to acknowledge that you're accountable. Something to think about. All right, let's go on. In the primordial past, according to Scientologist teachings, Thetans brought the material universe into being largely for their own pleasure. The universe is thought to have no independent reality, but to derive its apparent reality from the fact that most Thetans agree it exists. Scientologists believe that Thetans fell from grace when they began to identify with their creation rather than their original state of spiritual purity. Eventually, they lost their memory of their true nature, along with the associated spiritual and creative powers. As a result, Thetans came to think of themselves as nothing but embodied beings. In other words, they ceased to be God and started becoming human. Thetans are believed to be reborn time and time again in new bodies through a process called assumption, which is analogous to reincarnation. Delji Chan and Danny Jorgensen liken Scientology to Hinduism, and that both ascribe a causal relationship between the experiences of earlier incarnations and one's present life. Now, here's an interesting side note, because there's a lot of ties with Scientology to Hinduism, to Buddhism, and a lot of these other Eastern religions. Now, in Hinduism, they do not do funerals. In the Hindu faith, there is no burial. There's one quote that says, Hinduism is the only religion that mandates cremation. which is known as Atim Sanskar or last rites. Hindus see the body as a prison for the soul, one that generates attachments and desires that prevent forward progress towards freedom. Therefore, in Hindu funerals, the role of cremation is to sever the ties of the soul to the body that it is leaving, freeing it to move toward mukti. Which mukti is kind of like spiritual completion or whatever in Scientology. You see the same kind of principles if you've ever taken a psychology class. Maslow's hierarchy and self-actualization and all that. It's all tied together. And it says, after death, Hindus believe that the physical body serves no purpose and therefore does not need to be preserved. They choose to cremate their loved ones as they believe it's the quickest way to release the soul and help with reincarnation. Says their tradition is for the body to remain in the family home until cremation. Hindu cremation, ideally, cremation takes place as soon as possible within 24 hours after death. Now, and I'm not saying this is the case, but I'm just saying, think about it. This could very well be why Kiely was cremated sooner than we might think is practical, because it's supposed to be done as quickly as possible so the spirit can be released. Interestingly enough, one article says that after cremation, the family will observe a memorial event called Sraddha, which pays homage to the person who died. Now, along with Hinduism is Sikhism, another religion of India that stems from the same, these all stem from the same roots. Interestingly enough, those who practice Sikhism are not allowed to mourn. Now, why is it that they're not allowed to mourn? It says in Sikhism, when a person passes, they have taken the next step on the journey to becoming one with God, or Waheguru. I don't know why when I read that it just, I don't know, and this is just me because I'm weird and strange and all that good stuff. But for some reason when I read that, it just kind of reminded me of those old commercials. What's up? What's up? Or my favorite one, wasabi. I used to love those commercials. It used to just crack me up. Anyway, I digress. All right. This is a cycle. As all souls are once part of God, they will return to God. The body is merely a vessel on this journey. Since the soul cannot die, Sikhs do not mourn the decedent. All right, like I said, it's one of the Eastern, the religions from India that all kind of, come, it's all milk from the same cow, put it that way. Says, in a study that compares Scientology with Eastern religions, scholar Roy Wallace wrote that there are a lot of parallelisms between Hindu yoga and Scientology. In Hindu yoga, the yoga system would lead to a knowledge where the rebirth brings about a non-conditioned mode of being. And the aim of Samkhya Yoga would consist in the disassociation of Purusha, immortal spirit, from Prakriti, matter. Now, the same would be the aim of Scientology in seeking to disassociate the Thetan, equivalent to Purusha, immortal, free, divine, in the attempt to liberate the self from the MEST. All right? Matter, energy, space, and time. MEST. Okay. All right, now, back talking about the Thetan again. With each rebirth, the effects of the MEST universe, MEST here stands for matter, energy, space, time, on the Thetan are believed to become stronger. Scientologists believe that the Thetan has been embodied on many occasions, but they generally avoid the term reincarnation. They also reject the idea of transmigration, i.e., the belief that the Thetan would incarnate into any animal less than a human. Okay, well, there goes my dream of being a horse in my next life. All right, Scientology's first phase is to do with removing encumbrances acquired in this life and in past existences. J. Gordon Melton writes, according to Melton, these encumbrances are called engrams and are described as aberrations attached to the self that pounce dysfunctional behavior patterns. Or produce. Did I say pounce? Oh, they probably pounce them too. Pounce and produce. They pounce on them after they produce them. That's what. All right. All right. John Atack, whose book, A Piece of Blue Sky, details how he reached operating Thetan level 5. Oh, man. Before leaving Scientology, describes Hubbard's doctrines about Thetans. Thetans are all-knowing beings and become bored because there are no surprises. It's kind of like after being married for 20 years. Hubbard asserted that the single most important desire in all beings is to have a game. To have a game, it was necessary to not know certain things, so certain perceptions were negated. Since Thetans knew everything, this required them to abandon or suppress perceptions and knowledge. Over time, the loss of perception accumulated, and certain Thetans began to cause harm to others. Bad boys, what you... MEST, physical beings, also sought to trap Thetans in order to control them. Thetans came to learn contrition, punishing themselves for their own harmful acts. All right. According to Hubbard, an essential part of the Thetans game was the conquest of matter, energy, space, and time by the life force. Luke, use the force, Luke. By the way, this is where the force and all that stuff originated, was in Scientology. Just so you know. This has produced multiple universes which have ended and begun in succession, each new one being more solid and entrapping than the last. The Thetans have by now become so enmeshed in the physical universe that that many have identified themselves totally with it, forgetting their quadrillions of years of existence and their original godly powers. In other words, they encountered kryptonite. Yeah. All right. According to Scientology, Thetan powers are said to remain potent and restorable. Take away the kryptonite. One of the Church of Scientology's stated goals is the rehabilitation of the human spirit, by which it means the restoration of the Thetan's original abilities. Hubbard claims that Thetans are able to change reality through postulates, decisions made by the individual about the nature of the reality around them. Now, how many times have you heard people talk about that? You create your own reality. Everything's relative. Some Thetans are said to have misused this ability to implant others with hypnotic suggestions, forcing other Thetans to cluster around bodies, hence body Thetans. What if that was the first community? This sort of directed control is referred to as other determinism. Scientology seeks to undo it and return the Thetan to its self-determinism, where he can control himself and his environment. The eventual goal is to achieve pandeterminism, where he acts for the good of all. All right. The Scientological notion of the Thetan differs from other religions, such as Judaism and Christianity, in three significant ways. While other belief systems fuse the concept of the body and soul, the Thetan is separate and independent. Also, unlike the Judeo-Christian tradition, Scientologists believe that the Thetan has lived through many, perhaps thousands of lifetimes. Third, different from the Christian notion of original sin, Scientology believes that the Thetan is basically good, but has lost touch with its true nature. Religious scholar Richard Holloway writes that Thetans were not created, but they created themselves, adopting and creating the human body as a vehicle or existence. I think they meant vehicle of existence. I copied and pasted that, so that isn't my typo. All right, just so you know. All right, Thetans and Death. Non-Scientologists Joe Sapel and Robert Wolkoff described in a 1990 article in the LA Times how Scientologists believe that when a person dies, or, in Scientology terms, when a Thetan abandons its physical body, they go to a landing station on the planet Venus. Which, according to that one book, must be an all-male planet because there ain't no men on Venus. Men are from Mars, right? The women are from Venus. It's an all-female planet. That might be fun to visit. Anyway, on the planet Venus, where the Thetan is re-implanted and told lies about its past life and its next life. So we see the very basis of their religion is lying. Just saying. The Venusians take the Thetan, capsule it, I'm sorry, this is just too funny, and send it back to Earth to be thrown into the ocean off the coast of California. Or maybe sometimes they miss and they end up in a lake near Truckee. You never know. They quote Hubbard as saying, if you can get out of that and through that and wander around through the cities and find some girl who looks like she's going to get married or have a baby or something like that, you're all set. Oh, mama. And if you can find the maternity ward to a hospital or something, you're okay. And you just eventually just pick up a baby. Oh, my. Okay. I want her to be my mama. Yeah, I want her. No, I want her. Many, money, more. All right. While Hubbard's concept of the Thetan led to the development of an elaborate cosmology, the doctrinal structure he created is based on the following propositions. Man is an immortal spiritual being. His experience extends well beyond a single lifetime. His capabilities are unlimited, even if not presently realized. All right, now we go to another section that speaks of the operating Thetan, and I'm not talking about a surgeon. This guy ain't no doctor. All right. According to Scientology Doctrine, a Thetan exists whether operating a human body or not. Scientology advertises itself as being able to rehabilitate the Thetan of a practitioner to a state where the individual can operate with or without a flesh body. The term operating Thetan would then apply as it does to an individual is operating a body. The operating Thetan, or the OT, levels are the upper level courses in Scientology. All right. So I wonder if you're an older Thetan, if you're an OG. I'm just saying. All right. The church defines operating Thetan as knowing and willing cause over life, thought, matter, energy, space, and time. MEST. The Church of Scientology states as a point of doctrine that an individual exists with or without a body. Which brings us to the cleared Theta Clear. All right, this is even beyond the operating Thetan. It comes the clear Theta Clear, the godlike state which Hubbard describes this way. A Thetan who is completely rehabilitated and can do everything a Thetan should do, such as move MEST and control others from a distance, or create his own universe. The person who is able to create his own universe or, living in the MEST universe, is able to create illusions perceivable by others at will, to handle MEST universe objects without mechanical means, and to have and feel no need of bodies or even the MEST universe to keep himself and his friends interested in existence. All right, so I've said all that to say this. We are seeing how all three elements of this celebration could be explained. And I'm not saying they are explained. I'm just, like I said, I'm just putting this out there for, for entertainment purposes for the most part. But we also need to look and see if maybe there are some things that we can apply to the situation. All right, cremation. Cremation was done a lot quicker than we would have anticipated, considering the circumstances, especially if they wanted to do additional autopsies, like had been done in several cases where they've had to do 3 or 4 autopsies to get to the answer that they needed. You know, when it came out that she had been cremated, I've seen a lot of people who were kind of like, huh? Seriously? Already? Including me. No mourning. We will not mourn Kiely. We will celebrate her. And that's hard for most of us to understand. You know, and I know it is for me. You know, maybe it's just a defense mechanism. Maybe we can explain it that way. Or maybe it's a religious thing, as we've just looked at. At any rate, to me, it's very unusual and just plain weird to me. And then celebration. Honestly, I don't understand how all of those people, they're all dancing around, all happy with, acting like they don't have a care in the world. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. It didn't make any sense to me. Anyway, hope this has been informative and you got something out of it. I really think that's pretty much all I can say about this topic. I think I've shown enough, in these 2 videos that I presented to make us wonder a little bit, and maybe help us to understand things a little better. I don't know. Hopefully it has. It has me. Hopefully it has for some of you as well. Catch ya. Take care.